Welcome to today's scripture reading with the Ayaba, and today's scripture reading is Jasher or Jasher Chapter 9, verses 1 and 2, reads as follows. And Haran, the son of Terach, Avram's oldest brother, took a woman in those days. Haran was 39 years old when he took her, and the woman of Haran conceived and bore a son, and he called his name Lot. Verse 3. And she conceived again and bore a daughter, and she called her name Milcah. And she again conceived and bore a daughter, and she called her name Sarai. Verse 4. Haran was 42 years old when he begat Sarai, which was in the 10th year of the life of Avram. And in those days Avram and his mother and nurse went out from the cave, as the king and his subjects had forgotten the affair of Avram. Verse 5. And when Avram came out from the cave, he went to Noach and his son Shem, and he remained with them to learn the instruction of Yahuwah and his ways. And no man knew where Avram was, and Avram served Noach and Shem his son for a long time. Verse 6a. And Avram was in Noach's house 39 years, and Avram knew Yahuwah from 3 years old, and he went in the ways of Yahuwah until the day of his death, as Noach and his son Shem had taught him. And all the sons of the earth in those days greatly transgressed against Yahuwah, and they rebelled against him, and they served other Elohim, and they forgot Yahuwah who had created them in the earth. Verse 6b. And the inhabitants of the earth made unto themselves at that time every man his Elohim, Elohim of wood and stone, which could neither speak, hear, nor deliver. And the sons of men served them, and they became their Elohim. Verse 7. And the king and all his servants and Terach with all his household were then the first of those that served Elohim of wood and stone. Verse 8. And Terach had 12 Elohim of large size, made of wood and stone, after the 12 months of the year, and he served each one monthly, and every month Terach would bring his meat offering and drink offering to his Elohim. Thus did Terach all the days. Verse 9. And all that generation were wicked in the sight of Yahuwah, and they thus made every man his Elohim, but they forsook Yahuwah. Verses 10 and 11. And there was not a man found in those days in the whole earth who knew Yahuwah, for they served each man his own Elohim, except Noach and his household, and all those who were under his counsel knew Yahuwah in those days. And Avram the son of Terach was waxing great in those days in the house of Noach, and no man knew it, and Yahuwah was with him. Verse 12. And Yahuwah gave Avram an understanding heart, and he knew all the works of that generation were vain, and that all their Elohim were vain, and were of no avail. Verse 13, and Avram saw the sun shining upon the earth, and Avram said unto himself, surely now this sun that shines upon the earth is Elohim, and him will I serve. Verse 14, and Avram served the sun in that day, and he prayed to him. And when evening came, the sun set as usual, and Avram said within himself, surely this cannot be Elohim. Verse 15, and Avram still continued to speak within himself, who is he who made the heavens and the earth? Who created upon earth? Where is he? Verse 16, and night darkened over him, and he lifted up his eyes toward the west, north, south, and east, and he saw that the sun had vanished from the earth, and the day became dark. Verse 17, and Avram saw the stars and moon before him, and he said, surely this is the Elohim who created the whole earth, as well as man, and behold, these his servants are Elohim around him. And Avram served the moon and prayed to it all that night. Verse 18, and in the morning when it was light and the sun shone upon the earth as usual, Avram saw all the things that Yahuwah Elohim had made upon earth. Verse 19, and Avram said unto himself, surely these are not Elohim that made the earth and all mankind, but these are the servants of Elohim. And Avram remained in the house of Noach, and there knew Yahuwah and his ways, and he served Yahuwah all the days of his life. And all that generation forgot Yahuwah, and served other Elohim of wood and stone, and rebelled all their days. Verse 20, and King Nimrod reigned securely, and all the earth was under his control, and all the earth was of one tongue and words of union. Verse 21, and all the princes of Nimrod and his great men took counsel together, Put, Mitzrayim, Cush, and Canaan with their families, and they said to each other, come, let us build ourselves a city, and in it a strong tower, and its top reaching heaven, and we will make ourselves famed, so that we may reign upon the whole world, in order that the evil of our enemies may cease from us, that we may reign mightily over them, and that we may not become scattered over the earth on account of their wars. Verse 22, and they all went before the king, and they told the king these words, and the king agreed with them in this affair, and he did so. Verse 23, and all the families assembled, consisting of about 600,000 men, and they went to seek an extensive piece of ground to build the city and the tower, and they sought in the whole earth, and they found none like one valley at the east of the land of Shinar, about 2 days' walk, and they journeyed there, and they dwelt there. Verse 24, and they began to make bricks and burn fires to build the city and the tower that they had imagined to complete. Verse 25, and the building of the tower was unto them a transgression and a sin, and they began to build it. And while they were building against Yahuwah Elohim of heaven, they imagined in their hearts to war against him and to ascend into heaven. Verse 26, and all these people and all the families divided themselves in 3 parts. The first said, we will ascend into heaven and fight against him. The second said, we will ascend to heaven and place our own Elohim there and serve them. And the third part said, we will ascend to heaven and smite him with bows and spears. And Elohim knew all their works and all their evil thoughts, and he saw the city and the tower which they were building. Verse 27, and when they were building, they built themselves a great city and a very high and strong tower, and on account of its height, the mortar and bricks did not reach the builders in their ascent to it, until those who went up had completed a full year, and after that they reached to the builders and gave them the mortar and the bricks. Thus was it done daily. Verse 28, and behold, these ascended and others descended the whole day, and if a brick should fall from their hands and get broken, they would all weep over it, and if a man fell and died, none of them would look at him. Verse 29, and Yahuwah knew their thoughts, and it came to pass, when they were building, they cast the arrows toward the heavens, and all the arrows fell upon them, filled with blood. And when they saw them, they said to each other, surely we have slain all those that are in heaven. Verses 30 and 31. For this was from Yahuwah in order to cause them to err, and in order to destroy them from off the face of the ground. And they built the tower and the city, and they did this thing daily until many days and years were elapsed. Verse 32, and Elohim said to the 70 angels who stood foremost before him, to those who were near to him, saying, come, let us descend and confuse their tongues, that one man shall not understand the language of his neighbor. And they did so unto them. Verse 33, and from that day following they forgot each man his neighbor's tongue, and they could not understand to speak in one tongue. And when the builder took from the hands of his neighbor lime or stone, which he did not order, the builder would cast it away and throw it upon his neighbor, that he would die. Verse 34, and they did so many days, and they killed many of them in this manner. Verse 35, and Yahuwah smote the 3 divisions that were there, and he punished them according to their works and designs. Those who said, we will ascend to heaven and serve our Elohim, became like apes and elephants, and those who said, we will smite the heaven with arrows, Yahuwah killed them, one man through the hand of his neighbor. And the 3rd division of those who said, we will ascend to heaven and fight against him, Yahuwah scattered them throughout the earth. Verse 36, and those who were left amongst them, when they knew and understood the evil which was coming upon them, they forsook the building, and they also became scattered upon the face of the whole earth. Verse 37, and they ceased building the city and the tower. Therefore he called that place Babel, for there Yahuwah confounded the language of the whole earth. Behold, it was at the east of the land of Shinar. Verse 38, and as to the tower which the sons of men built, the earth opened its mouth and swallowed up 1/3 part thereof, and a fire also descended from heaven and burned another third, and the other third is left to this day, and it is of that part which was aloft, and its circumference is 3 days' walk. Verse 39, and many of the sons of men died in that tower, a people without number. That was the scripture reading of Yashar or Jasher chapter 9. And with that, I will leave you with Shalom.